I actually played Apex Legends on the Switch. It's
With
not.
Greg? Did you play with Greg? I hope you played with Greg because you
No,
got
I just played
crossplay.
with. I played with randos.
Oh.
Um, it's not great. It's not great. It's definitely
It's
not.
awful.
It's not panic buttons. I mean, it's free. That's the problem with it. Like if I paid money for it, ugh. But the fact that it's free, it's like, well, how mean can I really be? Like, yeah, it's ugly. The gunplay feels off. But I mean, I've gotten a couple wins on it, so like I'm somewhat satisfied. But yeah, it's like one of those things where it's like play it if you have an Xbox, if you have a PC, if you have a PlayStation, play it on there. I'm not a huge fan of the core game to begin with, so definitely not Panic Button's best port. I'd probably say it's their worst port. Hopefully they need to do some graphical patches, and like even when like you get into a gunfire, like it it bogs down. Like if you could feel the frames dropping, and it's like fucking a. Um, but I did play an excellent port, Crash Bandicoot 4. I would say that's right up there with the best Nintendo Switch ports that we've seen thus far. Fantastic job. Kudos, hats off. $40, worth every fucking penny. Great version of the game. And then beyond that, just my normal bullshit Call of Duty.
You're really into that. I haven't seen you be so consistent with the game ever since we've done this show.
I see some people saying it's like Outer Worlds is a good game, but just ugly. Outer Worlds is roll. Outer Worlds is a bit different because it's story driven. So I really got into the story and the world, so I liked it. And then they've done a patch since then that does make things look better. Whereas with Apex, it's like there is no, you know what I'm saying? The only thing you're focused on is getting loot and killing people. So there's nothing to really sort of distract you from the issues that the game has. Which is why I would say that it's not WWE 2K18 bad, but it's not great.
But I did play Apex Legends on Switch. The code that I received was like for the Champion Edition that had some free coins and stuff, and so I think I'm going to be pumping out that review here pretty soon for Nintendo enthusiasts. But my story with that game is much different, being that I started playing it on Xbox, I think One X, and then I've played it on PS4, PC, the Series S, and then continue to play it, pretty consistently on PC, just because I'm like in a groove now, and I took a break from Call of Duty, the multiplayer, to go back and play more of Apex Legends. But in terms of the port, I mean, I'm in the same boat with Sean. I got a couple wins off of it, but for the most part, I honestly do not see why it was put on Switch.
It's that bad. Eh?
I think it's awful. It's an offshoot of the Titanfall franchise. Respawn did an excellent job crafting a brilliant, colorful world in the Titanfall series. They have pretty tight gameplay, and they managed to translate that into a battle royale shooter, which is Apex Legends, without having the wall running. You still have like a slide. Each legend feels completely different than the others. They're adding, mid-season stuff, map mutators and, additional maps, and each legend has their own abilities, and they've been nerfed, buffed, whatever. New weapons have been added, attachments, and I've, kind of seen the whole thing progress from season 1 to season 8, where it's in right now. I've gotten skins. I've had the battle pass at one point. I was pretty invested. I did, unlike a lot of players, I did spend money in the game just because, there was some cool shit that I wanted. And that was like the first game that really kind of pushed me to buy the season pass. But we're talking frame rates as low as, I'm guessing, in the 10 to 15 frames region.
Have you had the thing where like you start out the match and everything is like slow and you can't run?
No, but
I've had that happen at least 3 or 4 times, and then like sometimes in the match it'll just fix itself, and then everything is fine. But yeah.
I've noticed some like weird stuff, like like I did notice like a couple times where it jumped, and it was like it was, and I made sure I had a wired connection as well too, plugged into my Switch because I have one of those like USB Ethernet adapters. But it was like repeating the jump, like we were jumping, and then like we're on the ground. And then like certain things like selecting your health and your battery and stuff was like it just was not showing up in the item wheel. And there was a day one patch, but I haven't seen any other patches since. I mean, it's 18.8 gigs on your Switch, and I made sure to move it over to system memory too, just to see if there was any other issues. But my God, I like nothing. If this is somebody's first entry into Apex Legends, I'd feel bad for him because it's probably the worst experience out of them all. You know, it still runs sluggish on the base PS4 and Xbox One, but it's, I mean, there's like the gunplay, the item pickup, like what you're doing in game becomes faster and faster. And you start to like swap out weapons, loot items from dead enemies, and the whole point is to like get your shit and move. And that's kind of like the emphasis on the gameplay is, you know, kind of fast gameplay and being able to, you know, snipe somebody, switch to your other weapon because you can carry two and all this sort of stuff. But the frame rate is so dodgy and so slow that even in gunfights, it just kind of like you almost have to,
it's inconsistent too.
yeah, you have to like guess where they're gonna be, and then like shoot and sway, and like it's done in such a weird, and like some of the textures, like I took a lot of screenshots because they're so muddy and blurry and like so jagged, and you know I at one point I set that down and went back to Mario 3D World and was like, you know, just in my head, it's like, how can a game, you know, granted it is a Nintendo first party game of a completely different genre, look so polished, and you know, even though it's a lot more simplified visually, I just don't understand like why even, you know, push this out the door.
It sounds like they ran out of budget, honestly. Like they probably had a budget. No?
I don't think so. I just think it wasn't working, but EA was just like, fuck it.
Probably.
Yeah.
Release it anyways.
Well, that's what I mean.
And that's not even to.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like matches too. Like if you switch to put it to Nintendo only matches, there was like 3 people in the queue, and then I mean, you almost have to change it over to cross-platform at that point to even get a match.
I was gonna say it's probably just if they allocated so much money for this project, and you know maybe panic button, right? Maybe this has been in development longer than they wanted, and they've already thrown more money at it, and like they just can't turn the results they want. They're just like, screw it, just put it out and see what happens. Apex Legends on Switch will offer cross-play, but not cross-progression for now. So that means Greg and Sean can play together.